What's going on? Wrestling vs. Family. Welcome back to the channel, and if you just clicked on this video, you are about to dive into one of the most controversial, most shocking, and most absolutely jaw-dropping moments in recent WWE history. I'm talking about Adam Pearce, the general manager of SmackDown, making the unprecedented decision to fire Drew McIntyre following his brutal and uncontrollable attack on Jacob Fatu. Family. This story has layers, drama, and consequences that are going to shake WWE to its core. Before we break down every detail of this massive story, make sure you absolutely destroy that like button, smash that subscribe button, and obliterate that notification bell, because here at Wrestling vs. CC, we bring you all the most important and controversial WWE moments with the analysis they deserve. Drop a comment below telling me if you think Adam Pearce made the right call or if this firing is a massive mistake. Let's get into this explosive situation. Family. To fully understand the magnitude of what happened on SmackDown and why it led to Drew McIntyre being fired, we need to talk about the build-up, the tensions, and the history between these characters. Drew McIntyre is a former WWE champion, a main event star who has been at the top of the card for years. The Scottish Warrior is known for his intensity, his passion, and his willingness to do whatever it takes to win. But lately, Drew has been showing signs of frustration, of desperation, and of a man who feels like opportunities have been slipping through his fingers. Jacob Fatu is the Samoan werewolf, a member of the legendary Anoa family, and one of the most dangerous superstars on the WWE roster. Since arriving in WWE, Fatu has been dominant, destructive, and seemingly unstoppable. His combination of size, athleticism, and ruthless aggression makes him a nightmare opponent for anyone. Jacob has been aligned with the Bloodline in some capacity, representing the next generation of Samoan dominance in WWE, and his presence has changed the entire dynamic of SmackDown. The rivalry between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu had been simmering for weeks. Family. There were verbal confrontations backstage, there were stare-downs in the ring, and there was a sense that these two powerful forces were on a collision course. Drew had been vocal about his frustration with the Bloodline's continued dominance, about how they controlled opportunities, and about how he deserved a shot at the top. Jacob, representing that Bloodline legacy, took Drew's comments as disrespect to his family. Things came to a head on SmackDown when Drew and Jacob were scheduled to have a standard singles match. Family. This was supposed to be a competitive contest, a way for both men to prove their dominance and settle their differences in the ring. The match started exactly how you'd expect, with both men bringing incredible intensity and physicality. Drew was hitting Jacob with Claymore kicks, Jacob was hitting Drew with devastating Samoan drops and hip attacks. The crowd was completely invested, loving every second of this hard-hitting battle. But something changed during that match. Family. You could see it in Drew's eyes, you could feel the energy shift. Drew started targeting Jacob with more aggression than necessary, hitting him with chair shots after the referee called for a disqualification. The match had ended, Drew had been disqualified, but he didn't stop. He grabbed another chair and hit Jacob again. Then again. And again. The crowd was shocked, officials were rushing to the ring, but Drew was in a zone, completely lost in his rage. What happened next was absolutely brutal. Family. Drew dragged Jacob out of the ring and threw him into the steel steps with sickening force. He grabbed the steel steps themselves and lifted them high above his head, then brought them crashing down on Jacob's body. The sound of metal hitting flesh echoed throughout the arena. Medical personnel were trying to get to Jacob, but Drew kept attacking, kept punishing, kept delivering blow after blow with complete disregard for Jacob's safety or WWE rules. Drew grabbed a table from under the ring. Family, and the crowd knew this was about to get even worse. He set up the table at ringside, pulled Jacob up, and powerbombed him through the table with devastating force. The table exploded into pieces, Jacob was writhing in pain, and Drew still wasn't satisfied. Security guards rushed to ringside to try to restrain Drew, but he fought them off, shoving them away and continuing his assault on the fallen Jacob Fatu. The attack reached its most shocking moment when Drew grabbed the steel chair one more time. Family, and this time he targeted Jacob's leg. Drew placed Jacob's leg on the steel steps and raised the chair high, and you could see in his eyes that he was about to try to end Jacob's career. The crowd was screaming for him to stop, officials were pleading with him, but Drew brought that chair down on Jacob's leg with sickening force. The sound was horrible, the visual was disturbing, and everyone in the arena and watching at home knew this had crossed the line. Finally, enough security personnel arrived to physically drag Drew McIntyre away from Jacob Fatu family. It took 6 security guards to restrain Drew and pull him up the ramp. Even as they were dragging him away, Drew was screaming threats at Jacob, at the bloodline, at everyone. His eyes were wild, his face was red with rage, and he looked like a man who had completely lost control. Medical personnel immediately surrounded Jacob, calling for a stretcher, clearly concerned about the damage that had been done. The atmosphere in the arena was absolutely stunned, family. This wasn't normal wrestling violence, this felt real, this felt dangerous, and fans were genuinely concerned for Jacob Fatu's well-being. The commentary team was selling the seriousness of the situation, talking about how Drew had gone too far, how this attack was unacceptable, and how there would be consequences. The show went to commercial with the image of Jacob being stretchered out of the arena, his leg heavily bandaged and medical staff surrounding him with worried expressions. When SmackDown came back from commercial, family, Adam Pearce was in the ring with a microphone, and you could see the anger and disappointment on his face. Pearce has been WWE's authority figure for years, always trying to maintain order, always trying to be fair, but what he had just witnessed had clearly crossed a line for him. The crowd was buzzing, everyone wondering what Pearce was going to say, what consequences would come from this attack. Adam Pearce didn't mince words, family. He talked about how WWE has rules, how there are lines that cannot be crossed, how the safety of the superstars is paramount. He explained that what Drew McIntyre did wasn't competition, wasn't rivalry, it was an assault that put another wrestler's career and health in serious jeopardy. Pearce's voice was shaking with emotion as he described watching the attack unfold and feeling helpless to stop it quickly enough. Then Pearce made the announcement that sent shockwaves through the WWE universe, family. He said that effective immediately, Drew McIntyre was suspended indefinitely from WWE. But Pearce didn't stop there. He went further, saying that after reviewing the footage and consulting with WWE management, the decision had been made to terminate Drew McIntyre's contract. Drew McIntyre was fired from WWE. The crowd erupted in a mixture of shock and disbelief. Some fans were cheering the decision, believing Drew deserved punishment for his actions. Others were booing, thinking this was too extreme a punishment. Adam Pearce explained his reasoning, family. He said that WWE cannot and will not tolerate the kind of violence Drew displayed. He talked about how WWE has a responsibility to its performers, to ensure their safety and well-being. Pearce said that while rivalries and feuds are part of the business, there's a difference between competitive aggression and dangerous assault. Drew's attack on Jacob Fatu crossed that line, and the consequences had to be severe to send a message to the entire locker room that such behavior would not be accepted. The wrestling world absolutely exploded with reactions, family. Social media was on fire with debates about whether the firing was justified. Wrestling fans were divided, with some arguing that Drew's attack was too extreme and deserved this punishment, while others claimed this was WWE overreacting and destroying a main event star's career over one incident. Fellow wrestlers were posting their reactions, some supporting the decision, others questioning whether this punishment fit the crime. Let's talk about the different perspectives on this situation, family. From Adam Pearce's point of view, he had to make a difficult decision to maintain order and safety in WWE. If he let Drew off with just a fine or a short suspension, what message does that send to other wrestlers? That you can nearly end someone's career and face minimal consequences. Pearce had to consider the precedent he was setting and the safety of all WWE superstars moving forward. From Drew McIntyre's perspective, family, this is a career-defining moment in the worst possible way. Drew has worked his entire life to be a WWE superstar. He was released by WWE years ago, worked incredibly hard on the independent circuit to reinvent himself, came back to WWE as a changed man, and achieved his dream of becoming WWE champion. Now, in one moment of lost control, one moment of rage, he's thrown it all away. The consequences of his actions have potentially ended his WWE career. For Jacob Fatu, this attack has multiple implications, family. On one hand, he's the victim of a vicious assault that may have caused serious injury. Reports from WWE medical staff suggest Jacob suffered damage to his leg and will be out of action for an undetermined amount of time. But on the other hand, this attack elevates Jacob's status in WWE. He's important enough that attacking him led to someone being fired. When Jacob returns, he'll be seeking revenge, and that storyline will be must-see television. The Bloodline's response to this situation has been interesting. Family. Solo Sikoa, the current tribal chief, cut a promo saying that Drew's attack on Jacob was an attack on the entire family. He promised that if Drew ever sets foot in a WWE arena again, the Bloodline will make sure he regrets it. The Usos echoed similar sentiments, talking about family honor and how Drew crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. The Bloodline is united in their anger and their desire to see Drew pay for what he did. The question everyone is asking is whether this firing is permanent or if this is a work that will lead to Drew's eventual return. Family. WWE has a history of firing wrestlers as part of storylines, only to bring them back later with big returns that generate massive reactions. Is this what's happening here? Will Drew McIntyre be gone for a few weeks or months, only to return with a vengeance? Or is this a legitimate firing that will see Drew leave WWE and potentially sign with another promotion? The business implications of firing Drew McIntyre are significant. Family. Drew is a main event star, someone who draws money, moves merchandise, and has star power that few wrestlers possess. Losing him hurts WWE's roster depth and takes away potential dream matches and storylines. But WWE may have calculated that the storyline value of firing Drew outweighs the short-term loss of having him on the roster. The drama, the controversy, the discussion this decision generates might be worth more than having Drew wrestle on SmackDown every week. From a storytelling perspective, this opens up fascinating possibilities. Family. If Drew is truly gone, WWE has to fill that void with other wrestlers stepping up. If this is a work and Drew eventually returns, the return will be massive, with everyone wanting to see him get revenge on the Bloodline and potentially earn his way back into WWE. Either scenario creates compelling television that keeps fans invested. There's also the possibility that other promotions are watching this situation closely. Family. If Drew McIntyre truly becomes a free agent, every major wrestling company in the world would be interested in signing him. AEW would love to have a former WWE champion on their roster. New Japan would jump at the chance to bring Drew in for major programs. The wrestling landscape could shift dramatically depending on where Drew ends up if this firing sticks. The locker room reaction to this firing has been mixed. Family. Some wrestlers reportedly believe Adam Pearce made the right call, that lines need to be drawn and consequences need to be real. Others feel that WWE is making a mistake, that they're throwing away a valuable asset over one incident that could have been handled with a suspension rather than a firing. The division in opinions shows how controversial this decision really is. Let's consider the possibility that this is all leading to a huge WrestleMania moment. Family. What if Drew's firing is part of a long-term story that sees him fight to get his job back, earning a match at WrestleMania against a Bloodline member with his WWE contract on the line? That would be a massive story with real emotional stakes, the kind of narrative that main events WrestleMania and creates unforgettable moments. The legal and kayfabe implications are interesting too. Family. In storyline, does Drew have any recourse to fight his firing? Can he appeal to higher WWE management? Could Triple H override Adam Pearce's decision? The authority structure in WWE creates opportunities for this story to develop in multiple directions, each more dramatic than the last. From a fan engagement perspective, this storyline has been incredibly successful. Family. Everyone is talking about it, everyone has an opinion, and everyone wants to see what happens next. Whether you think Drew should have been fired or not, you're invested in this story. That's the mark of effective wrestling storytelling, creating situations that generate genuine emotional responses and passionate debate. The moral questions this story raises are fascinating. Family. When does competitive aggression become unacceptable assault? How much violence is too much in a business built on staged combat? Should the fact that wrestling is predetermined matter when judging whether someone crossed the line? These questions don't have easy answers, and that complexity makes this storyline more interesting and thought-provoking. Looking at similar situations in WWE history, family, we've seen wrestlers fired as part of storylines before, and sometimes those firings led to incredible return moments. Stone Cold Steve Austin getting fired and coming back as a beer truck driver. CM Punk's work shoot that blurred reality and fiction. If WWE handles Drew's firing and potential return correctly, this could become one of those legendary moments that defines an era. The impact on Drew McIntyre's character is profound. Family. If and when he returns, will he be the same person? Will this experience humble him or make him even more dangerous? Will he seek redemption or revenge? The character development possibilities are endless, and that's exciting for fans who want to see wrestlers grow and change rather than remain static. Wrestling vs. Family. Adam Pearce firing Drew McIntyre after that brutal attack on Jacob Fatu is one of the most controversial and talked about decisions in recent WWE history. Whether this is a permanent firing or part of a larger storyline, whether you agree with the decision or think it's too extreme, there's no denying that WWE has created a moment that has everyone talking. The consequences of Drew's actions are real, and the fallout from this decision will shape WWE programming for months to come. What do you think about this firing, family? Did Adam Pearce make the right call? Did Drew McIntyre deserve to be fired for his actions? Should WWE have just suspended him instead? Do you think this is a work that leads to Drew's return? What should happen next in this story? Drop all your thoughts, opinions, and predictions in the comments below. I want to hear from every single one of you on this controversial topic. If this deep dive into the Drew McIntyre firing situation gave you a new perspective, show some love by destroying that like button. Subscribe to Wrestling vs. CC for continued coverage of this developing story and all the biggest moments in WWE. We bring you the most detailed analysis and passionate wrestling content on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our videos. Share this video with every wrestling fan you know, family. This is the kind of controversial moment that deserves discussion and debate. Follow Wrestling vs. CC on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok for daily updates on the Drew situation and all things WWE. We're building the best wrestling community on the internet. Thank you for watching Wrestling vs. Family. Your support means everything, and I love discussing these complex wrestling stories with you. I'll catch you in the next video where we'll continue following this story and covering all the biggest developments in WWE. Until then, stay informed, stay passionate, and remember that in WWE, actions have consequences. Peace out, family.